Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, joining me is my Buddy Reads co-host, Classy Green. We'll be discussing The Sun Down Motel by Simone St. James. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and thank you for downloading this month's Buddy Read discussion featured here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. If you're new here, every week we get bookish with book discussions, book review shelf bites, and more. If you are wondering what is a buddy read, this is a feature where Classy and I select a thriller or mystery title that we both are interested in. Then we have a candid discussion about that book or audiobook. We even discuss it in our Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official during a live chat. So grab a glass of wine, a cocktail, cup of tea or coffee, or whatever your drink of choice is, and settle in for this fun discussion. As always with book chats, there is a spoiler alert in effect, so you've been warned. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with one book nerd friend or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing it. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including this podcast after show. You can find both Classy and myself on Instagram and Twitter. And if you're reading or listening to this audiobook and would like to contribute to the conversation, of course, be sure to join the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group. I hope to hear your thoughts on this discussion. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. We've got a lot to cover today, so we are going to jump right on in. Joining me is the Buddy Read feature co-host, Classy Green. Welcome back, Classy.
Thank you for allowing me to come back once again, Tamara.
Once again.
I know.
Yes, we're going to have some fun today.
Yes. No, so I can't wait to hear your thoughts as we go over this book.
Okay, I made lots of notes, so we are discussing the audiobook version of The Sundown Motel, written by Simone St. James, narrated by Brittany Presley and Kirsten Potter. The length is about 9 hours, and it was released February 18th, 2020. So before we get going, Classy, as always, would you please share the synopsis?
Yes. The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. The secrets lurking in a rundown roadside motel ensnare a young woman, just as they did her aunt 35 years before, in this new atmospheric suspense novel from the national best-selling and award-winning author of The Broken Girls. Upstate New York, 1982. Every small town like Bell, New York, has a place like the Sundown Motel. Some customers are from out of town, passing through on their way to someplace better. Some are locals, trying to hide their secrets. Viv Delaney works as the night clerk to pay for her move to New York City, but something isn't right at the Sundown, and before long, she's determined to uncover all of the secrets hidden. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And that she does. Yes.
Yes.
So you guys know full spoilers. Okay, if you are new here, if you're brand spanking new, we are going to spoil it. So if you haven't read it, press pause and then come back. Don't say we didn't warn you.
We can't say, about this time we'll warn you about spoilers.
Yeah.
We cannot be held responsible for what we say at any moment.
Exactly. So I know you guys are going to like what we have to say, I think. Or maybe. Okay, so let's just start. I thought at first, I'm like, when is this stuff going to pick up? It took a minute for the pacing or things to get interesting for me. Let's say it that way. It took about, I can't remember what I told you the percentage was. Do you remember what I told you?
23.
23%.
It was 23. Right.
And that's a lot for me. That's like almost quarter way through the book before things started to get interesting. How about for you? Was it slow start for you?
I believe so, because I think I even looked at my percentage mark to see if I was probably right around the same point you were at, where I was like, okay, slow burn. Because you know how I am with slow burn. And I mean, I don't mind slow burn if it's going to be good, but you know, at the beginning, it's just like, oh, hook me, just hook me, please. And it took me probably about that long too. Yeah, I would say right about that time, because that's when things, I think, started to reveal itself, like, okay, now I see where they're going. Even though the synopsis is perfect, it still doesn't give away a whole lot.
No, it doesn't, actually. I think maybe what slowed it down in the beginning is, honestly, the chapters were, I guess, noted that it was either 1982 or it was 2017. And I needed that in the beginning, because even with the two narrators, it took me several chapters to figure out. And I actually remember hitting back to the beginning of the chapter at least 5 times. So I like, wait a minute.
What time
are
we in?
Yeah. But eventually that went away when I got into the story, but it shocked me how many times in the very beginning I had to do that.
Yeah, because the narrators did sound at a certain point, they did start sounding alike, but then, like you said too, you could kind of tell, just because of some of the scenes, some of the comments, because at the beginning, what's her name? What's the niece's name?
Oh, the niece, her name,
Carly.
Carly, yeah.
Carly. I don't think, like, in that first 20%, there wasn't a whole lot given to us about Carly. It was mostly Viv's story. Am I right?
Yeah, but Carly did show up in Fells and find a little impromptu roommate in the beginning.
Right. But within that 20%, was it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
But it did start with Vivian, because we had to figure out what the hell was going on. So she goes away from home, is intending to go to New York, but finds herself in this small town trying to escape from someone who she thinks could just dump her on the side of the road and murder her. She gets a ride. Like, that's horror film mistake number 1. Yeah, you hitch a ride with a guy who suddenly is creeping you out.
Yeah, because she left home because her and her mom had gotten into it. Dad had left the family. They were getting, divorced, and her and mom weren't getting along. She was going to New York to become an actress with $100 in her pocket, maybe?
Never made it to New York. Oh, well.
Right. And then she was down to her last $20 and decided to hitchhike, like you said, and realized she was in the car with a possible Ted Bundy. And on their way there, she sees a hotel or motel and says, oh, just drop me off here, because she was getting the creeps, that women's intuition, and decided to stay there.
Which you should always listen to, by the way. If you ever get that feeling, get the hell out of there.
It's given to you for a reason. Yeah. And she tells the clerk, who happens to be the owner, hey, I only have $20 to my name. How much is a room? And the rooms were 30. She only had 20. And in exchange for her living there, the clerk / owner said, hey, take over the night shift. Go take a nap and come back. You got a job and you have somewhere to lay your head for the night. And thus begins her story.
Which, I mean, overall, I felt the story was very compelling. It was very interesting to me how Viv in 1982 and Carly in 2017 were basically mirroring each other, as far as, they both end up in this town. They both are working the night shift. They both have these obscure roommates. They both are trying to solve a crime.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was eerie. Because, and I think that provided that atmospheric tone, because each time you hear everybody's story, you're like, what's really going on here? are they really two different, it's like there's so many scenarios that can be taking place, even though, it's 2017 and it's 1982, but you've had some stories that will, with the unreliable narrator, which I didn't feel like this was, but I wasn't sure if she was just going to try and throw something at us, something real slick or a nice twist. But they mirrored practically, like you said, all the way down to the roommates, to the living quarters. I mean, her roommate, Carly's roommate, when she came to Fell, because she knew her aunt's address, that was the apartment. Yeah. So here she goes to look at her aunt's apartment, and this woman needs a roommate. Mm-hmm. How weird.
Yeah, she was a little strange. I mean, she had issues. The roommate had all these prescription drugs because she was depressed, and she had all these things going on. So I don't know if she was the best.
Depressed with bipolar.
Yeah, but I guess it worked out.
Yeah, because she was an insomniac who loved doing, when she couldn't sleep, she was on the internet and had possibly looked. I mean, it was a small town. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if they even mentioned the count, the population, but it was a small town. And how many women went missing? I'll say at least 5.
Four that were named. Plus, there could be more.
Right. So in that small town, which I didn't look up to see if Fell, New York was a real town, which I doubt, because, they mentioned like Fell College or something. And I'm like, this is probably very fictional. But, with a small town like that, just to have even 4 or 5 women go missing is, monumental for that city. So I could see her on her time of not being able to sleep doing that. I thought that was very believable.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, this small town where just people die at the motel, women are yanked off the street, and they're used as cautionary tales to scare the daughters.
Yeah, you'll wind up like so-and-so. Don't go out jogging.
Right.
I mean, it brought up memories from my childhood. I don't know about you.
Well, lucky for me, if there were a bunch of serial killers running around that they were talking about on the news, I just wasn't aware of it. I mean, when I was a teenager, I didn't hear any crazy stories from my parents or anybody. But I feel like if I Googled, I bet I could find there was something going on, because I do remember like a distinct time when maybe I was maybe under the age of 10. But I remember my father and my mother telling me, like, if anyone comes to you and says they are here on our behalf, it's a lie. If anyone says, come with us, don't believe them, run. And then they actually made up a code word that literally made it up out of the sky. This is not a real word. I still remember it. They're like, if by chance we ever send someone to you, they will know this word.
So it probably was some kind of incident that happened.
And that's how they chose to deal with it, is to warn me not to go with people without saying, oh, don't do this or you'll end up like this girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I remember some stories, and some of the stories weren't in my town, but were just national news. So that was, like you said, the opportunity for my parents to caution us about staying out late, staying in groups, especially for young girls, and empowering us. So yeah, I really did think the characters were believable, the plot. I mean, there's a few little things in there that some people may not think is believable, but I enjoyed it.
Look, girl, okay, even the ghost stuff, okay, I halfway accepted it, okay, because...
Yeah, I know.
Let me tell you, I am not one of these people that are like, oh, there's ghosts everywhere, that's not my normal train of thought. But it has been an occasion or two that I remember, 3, that I remember where I know I have seen something that did not belong. And I mean, from childhood... through like adulthood. I saw something like when I was in middle school, something when I was in high school, and then something as a grown-ass adult about like 10 years ago. So I'm like, okay, I can believe something. So I think this kind of made it more interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I've had that same experience, childhood, middle, adult, and I've had that experience more than once during those periods in my life. So, like you said, figures and it wasn't like I was sleeping. I was wide awake, and I'm like, okay. I was not on any, and as a child, no, I was not on any medication.
Nope.
I was not drinking,
No
and
drugs.
even as an adult during those times. Yeah. So it wasn't no influence. So for those incidents to happen, and just to let the listeners know, in the hotel, it was mentioned that it was haunted, that a woman's body was left dumped there before the Sundown Motel was built, and that she haunted this motel the whole time. So, and there would be incidences of doors opening. Was it lights being flicked on and off
all
too?
The lights will go off. Like, this is the kind of place I would never stay, because we talked about motels that have doors to the outside. Okay, when you open your door, it is air. I can't stay there. So all the lights would go out. The sign would go out. Doors would open and slam. Yeah, she'd see a little boy. All kind of crazy shit. Smell smoke. Someone's smoking and no one is there.
Yeah. Now I've had that experience before. I've had the smell of smoke and perfume, and no one smokes in my house. I have asthma. My daughter has asthma. But it wasn't in this house. I can't remember, but I've had that experience. And you're just like, does anybody else smell that? Or is it just me that smells that? Or, like perfume. Like, I don't really wear perfume. My daughter wears it now, but at that time she was a little girl and didn't wear perfume.
Yeah.
So yeah, those factors in the book brought this up a notch for me.
Yeah, because that stuff, I felt it in my bones. I'm like, I would not be sitting there. I don't care what the hell I'm researching. You best believe I'm not about to be sitting up here at night by myself with these weirdos coming in and out of here.
No. And all they had to do back then was sign a ledger. And half the time, if nobody was at the desk, they knew what to do. That was the thing that got me. I'm like, who does this? But apparently it was common practice.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it was common practice that they would just, oh, okay, she's not here. I'll just leave the key here, or I'll just do that. And, I'm afraid of gas stations at night. Like, if I had to have a job, I would not be a gas station attendant on the night shift. I would not be in the motel. Anything 24 hours. No, I'm scary Mary. I'm good.
Nah, man, I can't do it. And especially now, it's worse than ever, because I watch and listen to a lot of true crime. So it's like, hell no, you ain't catching me nowhere like that. I'm sorry.
Yep. Nope. I need you. I need you to close at 9 or 10 o'clock p.m. If I'm going to do any kind of job like that, nope. 24 hours.
I can't do it.
No.
Yeah, it was really interesting how, so Viv, when she got there, she really had no plan. But once she started seeing the ghost and hearing the stories, she decided, I'm going to figure out kind of what happened here. Because she kind of fell into it. And before you knew it, she was chasing a serial killer.
I know. And the way she figured this out, it's like she kind of just snuck up on it. Because in this motel, there were very seedy characters coming through here. There was the drug dealer that everybody knew, was this Jamie. You had the couple that was cheating, the cheating couple.
Helen and Mr.
Both
White.
of them were right. Helen Bannister, or whatever her name was, and Mr. White.
And then Mrs. Bailey, the resident drunk, who would come and just pass out.
Right, because she couldn't drink at home. And then you had the traveling salesman.
Yep.
And, and she was practically new. And like I said, all they had to do was sign a ledger. And she realized that the traveling salesman wrote down a different name each time he stayed at the hotel. And I think, I can't remember exactly why that piqued her interest, or, oh gosh, what was it? The cop, the night shift cop who did security of the hotel. I guess she mentioned to her about the strange ghost, or what, is that what happened? Did she mention
No.
No?
I think if I remember correctly, Viv saw the ghost, and I think she was trying to ask Alma about it, but she was kind of just telling her, weird stuff happens. I don't think she was trying to say,
right, because she wasn't sure if anybody would believe her, probably.
Because I don't even know if Alma ever actually saw a ghost. I know that she knew shady stuff went on up there.
Right, because even Vivian tried to play coy. She's like, I don't know, that's not my business, or something. So yeah, but she was trying to figure out, what strange had happened there. Because I think somebody mentioned to her, I don't know who mentioned to her, that somebody died there.
Well, she knew about the little boy because, she lived in that town. So the little boy that drowned he hit his head and he drowned. And then she knew about William, the smoking, what was his name, William? Henry, the smoking man. She knew about him because he worked in that office and sat in that chair. And he was the guy that called emergency for that little boy. So she knew about those stories. And of course, she knew about all the other stories because she kind of took Viv around town. Or was that Marnie that took her around town? Was that Alma or Marnie that took her? Okay.
Marnie took her around town, but Alma knew, like you said, the stories because that was her shift. That was the only shift they would let her work. So she knew everybody who had worked at the motel and the stories probably that went along with them.
Yeah. But Alma was very about the facts, right? Because every time Viv would come to her, like the couple of times she came to her with evidence, even when she had really good, a really good case against Hess, she said, hey, you can't prove this though. This is all hearsay, basically. None of this can be proven, which is true.
Which made Vivian even better at her detective research skills, because Alma was like, I'm the only woman. They already call me names. Nobody's gonna believe me. So if we're gonna bring this, we got to bring it. Like you said, the facts. I need clear cut evidence, no jokes. Nothing that would throw this out, or nothing that would make anyone look over the case and just say, oh, like you said, it's hearsay. So no, she was no nonsense. But she did, at first she seemed like a hard nose, but she did have a soft heart. You could see that she had a soft heart for this young girl who, like she said, she was a pretty young girl who came from small Midwest town, even though it was New York City in a small town, but it was a creepy small town. And she worked a night shift, a very unsafe shift. So I liked Elma. There weren't there were some characters I didn't like, but I really did like Elma, and I liked Marnie, and the women that Vivian came across.
And I do want to point out, both of those women were Black. The one that helped, actually, both of them helped Vivian and Carly.
Yeah, they did. And I mean, they helped Vivian. They helped her to the very end.
So let's talk about that. I kind of want to just talk about the murder and stuff. So Vivian got to the point where she was stalking and I mean stalking that guy. What's his dang on name? Simon Hess.
Simon Hess. Yes.
Because she's like, I'm proving this. So it got to the point where during one of her stalking days, she sees him scoping out this girl, this high school girl. And I think after that, she went to Alma. She tried to warn people. She called the school and tried to pretend she was a parent talking about this strange guy. She sent a note to the parents because, like, hey, there's some guy, watch your kid, and nobody believed her. And so the kid is snatched up, raped, and killed. And so after that, I think she just was at her wit's end, and she like, I can't. I mean, I tried.
She's done all she can do.
Yeah, I tried to save her, and I still didn't save her. So, of course, when the guy comes back, he's all, okay, well, actually, let's talk about how he finds her, because, y'all, this ending was crazy. So, Viv was, I guess, mistaken as a blackmailer. So, Mr. White and Helen, who always come and screw each other in that room, okay, they got a room, they were doing it. Then Robert White was blackmailed by Helen, because Helen's husband had her getting photos taken of her by Marnie, so that they could then later, as a couple, blackmail this guy with, I'm going to tell your wife if you don't pay this money. But he didn't think it was Helen. He thought it was poor Viv. So he confronts her and starts to strangle her to death. He's trying to strangle a girl.
Are you assaulting that lady?
Right. So Mr. Serial Killer, Simon Hess, walks up and he's like, are you assaulting this lady? Like, you know, he just inserts himself in the business. I'm like, what? That shocked me, but okay.
Yeah.
But in her mind, she's like, hey, Mr. White, I know you just strangled me, but please don't leave me alone with this serial killer. Oh my God.
Put your hands back around my neck.
It was hilarious. But, you know, so he checks in, and of course he says something sly to her, and she like, oh my God. She thinks he knows he's figured her out, but he hadn't yet. Right.
I thought the same thing, like, oh, the gig is up.
Yeah.
The gig is up. But
she had a smart plan, though. So White goes to his room. Yeah. Hess goes to his room. White leaves, of course, drops the money, the money that he was supposed to pay off the blackmailer. And so she has...
Oh, but you forgot that while she's getting choked, Mrs. Bannister drives up and sees Mr. White choking her. And it's like,
drives
I'm out of here. She's like, look, I'm out of here.
Gigs up.
I don't want that money.
Right. Like the blackmailing lady drives up, sees it, and takes off. I'm like, damn, you just gonna leave a girl to get choked out?
Right. She's giving her eye contact, like, help.
Right.
Nah.
She's like, not my business.
She's like,
now in 1982, there are no cell phones to call 911. Okay.
Right.
Not like that.
Yeah. No. Nope. Not at all.
That might have been about the time where they started having those huge chunky car phones that you have to have plugged into the lighter.
In a bag.
Yeah, in a bag.
That might, maybe. No, you know what? The bag phones were, that might have been the brick phones, maybe.
Okay.
That might have been brick phone time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I remember the bag phone because one Christmas my father bought one and we were like, bring the phone. When we got the car, we had to go grab the phone.
I remember those. Oh, I remember those.
Yeah. So, okay. So everyone disperses. And then her friend Jamie, who is the pot drug dealer that has been flirting with, I'm thinking the wrong person. So, was that Jamie that was the pot dealer? Yeah.
Yes.
Jamie, the pot dealer, who had been flirting with Viv the whole time, she gets help from him. She has him call up there to the room, to the serial killer Hess's room, and says, hey, I know what you did. I saw you. better come here in 20 minutes or else. So he hightails his butt out of there.
In the lobby.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Viv's like, this is my chance to go find some evidence. I'm like, oh, Lord, that's never going to work out. And, of course, it didn't.
Nope. Nancy Drew.
Yeah. She goes in there. She's searching. And then here he comes. Like, what are you doing? He's like, busted. And she like, He's like, it was you. I knew it was you. So she gets busted. And
right, because when he checks in, he keeps looking at her and says, "You look familiar."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, I look familiar. You check in here all the time." He's like, "No, I know you from somewhere else." And she, she dodged it for a while until, like you said, she got caught in that room.
You know what? I think he did for sure if he didn't know for sure, he thought he saw her at the bus stop. Remember that scene where she was tracking him, and then like she kind of got busted almost, but she kind of got in the line to get on the bus and just would not look at him.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So he definitely saw her there. And of course, she broke into his vehicle. He didn't physically see her at the time, but he probably seen her car around a few times.
Right. That's what I was thinking too, that car was around enough times. And if he's checked into that hotel, or excuse me, it's a motel enough times that he's seen that car. Because it wasn't that many patrons at the motel. So he noticed her car.
Oh yeah. Between him, it was like 1, 2, 3, like 5 other people at that motel at any given time. Outside of the person at the front desk. Yeah. So yeah.
I think he did have an inkling.
What did you think about him? Like, and this is like typical in like a lot of mysteries. So they catch somebody or somebody is figured out. Then they proceed to spill their whole guts before. It's like, before you get got, you spill your entire guts about everything you did, and you tee-heeing about it before you get got. That's what happened.
Right. Because you don't think you're going to get got. Yeah, that's the classic, I'll never get caught. Yeah, I did it. Yeah. It was cliche. Very cliche. Because I think she basically questioned him and asked him why he did it. And like you said, he
said, because I can. Because I got away with it.
Right. I liked it. I liked, what was it? The First Lady, Betty. I loved Betty. She just didn't know she loved me. And I needed to show her. Creeper. And like you said, he was just a classic serial killer, rapist, basically.
The only girl that didn't get raped was the runner. And I think that was because he said he messed something up. And it was kind of like things got messy and he just had to kill her.
Yeah, right. It was one of those, she threw me off my game and I had to wing it. Yeah.
That's why one girl didn't fit the profile that Alma was saying. Like, that doesn't fit all the way. But so he killed 4 women plus some, because he kind of alluded to there might have been more, but they were nameless. So Betty Graham, that was the ghost. That was the first person he killed ever. Yeah. And then Kathy Caldwell, he snatched her out of her home. He sold her locks. Remember the married woman who got slandered after she disappeared?
Yep.
And then Yep. And then Victoria Lee, who was a runner, she was the one that did not get raped. So I think he just yanked her while she was out running. And then, of course, the high school kid, like, he's just getting younger and younger. It's gross. Tracy Walter is the high school kid. And then more women that she was unable to get the names for.
Yeah. And Tracy was the first, when the story opened, Vivian said, "Tracy, I'm sorry I failed you," and which I thought was a very good line to start a book off with, because it's like, because at that time, let's see, and which we didn't know, but that's what was like one of the first lines in the book, I think, because I remember tagging it or like she was going into work or something.
Mm-hmm.
And she mentioned, hey, they found Tracy in the ditch, stripped of her clothes. And she was like, who does that? Blah, blah, blah. And then she said, Tracy, I'm sorry, I failed you. And I was like, that's important. And then we come to find out that Tracy, the day Tracy's body was found was also the day Vivian went missing.
Yeah.
And this is what happened. She was trying to find out who was killing these girls in this small town. So
now, you know what? Okay, so I could tell, I knew what happened. I should have wrote down the exact moment, but I knew she killed him before we got to that point. I was like, I'm like, oh no, she killed him and ran. I don't know what point. I wish I wrote it down because I guessed that. I'm like, well, at first I'm thinking, well, I guess Vivian's the last person he's going to kill. But then, I know what it was. When they were in the garage and they opened up, they couldn't open the trunk, but they knew a body was in there. Remember when Vivian and, when Carly and yeah, the older girl of Carly and Nick were in that garage. Because remember, they were doing their own investigation. What happened to Viv? When they went to that garage based off of photos that Marnie took. She took a photo of where they buried him or put his body. When they saw that, I thought, oh no. I'm like, watch. She's not in there. And then the very next section, the police was like, that's not her. It's a man. I said, oh shit, she killed him. That's the first thing I said. She killed him and ran.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I thought too. I thought ran and just like the story said, and got a new new identity, which is
she
what
did.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But she had help. It was dope how she had help though. So fast forward, she does.
I didn't think that they threw me off. She got me with that one.
Yeah. And really, so after Viv, she stabs him in the stomach and then stabs him in the neck 2 different times. Right. I would stab his ass more than that. But so she stabs him and then she panics and she calls Alma at the police station. And then suddenly she's like, oh, never mind. I'm just bored. She tried to play it off like she didn't want her to come. And she reached out to her for help initially, and she just changed her mind at the last minute. But Alma was like, what's going on with this girl? Let me go over here and see what the hell going on. But not before Marnie shows up. Marnie shows up first. And she is the one helping her get the body into the car. As they get the body into the car, here comes Alma rolling up. And they like standing there, and she got this bloody, shower curtain in her hands. And she's like,
both of them caught with their hands in the cookie jar.
Right. And she's like, what's going on here? And they're like, they didn't want to.
She did it.
But I mean, Alma's so smart. She knew what the hell was going on. And she's like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And like, honestly, as a cop, you'd think her first inkling would be to arrest her. But it was to save her. It was to help her. Yeah. Because I think after the last girl died, she felt guilty because, she warned her.
Right. And I think she said she had noticed some things too. She had looked up some things and realized he was the serial killer. I think that was mentioned, that she did know from some evidence that it did prove, but it wasn't like you said, because Alma was by the book. Facts, nothing but facts. And I think she knew, but she didn't have enough to prove that this guy was a serial killer. And she also knew that he possibly would get away with it, or he wouldn't serve too much time because it was circumstantial evidence. So, he told her.
Yeah, he did.
But that was your word against his word. And now he's a dead man. So, Elma may have been, working that night shift, but she knew her shit.
Yes, she did.
she knew her stuff. Yeah.
So between the two of them, Marnie and Alma helped her disappear, basically. You know, Marnie was like, I'll go take care of this body. And Alma was like, we're leaving. Leave all your stuff. Leave everything. Yeah. And the only thing she grabbed was that cash, that blackmail cash.
And start a new life.
Yes, off into the night you go.
Yeah.
Which was insane, though. An insane twist, which was weird in the most gross way. So, like, the reason why, you know, the serial killer has kept coming back to that hotel is because he saw Betty's ghost and he was getting his rocks off by seeing the ghost over and over again. And so that's why he kept coming back to that hotel. And that's awful. And then after all of that, his ass turns into a damn ghost at the hotel.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know it was like you almost wonder, well, yeah, because you almost wonder, like, so who became the ghost? It seems like the people who died there became the ghost, even though I think Betty did. I'm not positive if Betty was jumped there, period. So we could just say she basically haunted the land. It's just like, you know,
yeah. When someone's dumped,
she haunted. Yeah, your body.
Yeah, and I don't know if she was officially dead when he dumped her. She could have been near death, but not all the way dead.
Right, because the other ghost was the little boy who died in the pool. Henry the smoker had a stroke or a heart attack at work at the motel.
In that same chair she be sitting in every day. Yeah.
Nobody told them anything. And then Hess was killed there too. So
I heard, yeah.
So right. So I guess, you know, that's how the ghost came about in that hotel was if you died on that property, you haunted the place basically. Or your ghost appeared. I won't say haunt because the little boy wasn't haunting. He just was kind of appearing saying, I don't feel good.
You know, that would
he
creep
wasn't like
me
trying
out.
to scare. He wasn't tearing anything up.
No, he
just didn't feel good.
But he was like, help me. I'm like, oh my God. And look, at one point, I feel like, was that Carly? I think it was Carly who said to the little boy, I can't help you. I can't help you.
I gotta go. I hope you feel better. Yeah. But I gotta go.
Yeah. Like,
stopping progress.
Yeah. Because then 35 years later, Carly is sitting there seeing these same ghosts, smelling the smoke, finding out about Betty. You know, all these things that she's really seeing, I think, the full effect of that, especially at the end there, because when Hess's grandson comes to try, which didn't make sense to me, why you're the grandson of this serial killer, but he just thought he ran away with her aunt. I think that's what it was. He thought they ran away or something. Right. But when they found out that wasn't what happened, he blamed her. He was like, he called her some kind of bitch or something, like right before he like knocks her upside the head. I'm like, what is wrong? He says, fuck you, bitch, and knocks her upside the head. I'm like, what? You gonna push her into the pool? Oh my God. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah. But they said he did suffer from something. And But yeah, that was a twist I didn't see coming. She had a few twists in this story that I was like, oh, I like that one. I like that little twist, but I did like the the twist with Callum.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Right. I know that's the only thing about audio is sometimes you can't get the spelling or the, of their name. So him, I did not see that coming with him.
And was it just me or I kept expecting something bad out of Nick too. I'm like, wait a minute. Alma was trying to imply that Nick was this horrible kid. She didn't even trust that he was where he said he was when his father came through and killed his brother and tried to kill him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh no.
I was expecting him to, I'm not sure exactly, but I thought he was going to do something horrible to Carly, because I almost thought that, well, she could have, almost thought Carly was going to have the same fate as her aunt, you know, since everything was being mirrored. So, and I think that probably was the way she wanted to throw us. Here you have Callum. He was basically kind of like the good guy, working at the library, doing all this, you know, and following all the rules. And then you have Nick, you know, who after his father went to jail and his brother died, went down a horrible path, you know, drinking and driving, and Elma's picking him up and putting him in the drunk tank. And, you know, so I was thinking that he was going to be, you know, the bad guy. And, you know, he saw the ghost too, and he's living in this hotel, you know, he was living in the motel.
Which is weird. He's like, that's the only place I can sleep. But he's like, this ghost be coming in my room, but I mean, that's the only place I can sleep.
Yeah. But then I thought too, after that, I was like, after what he saw with his father, because we didn't really know the extent, you know, we knew that dad killed, you know, the brother. So he's probably thinking, after what I saw, ghosts, that's
I'm not
nothing.
scared. Yeah.
Right. I just saw my dad murder my brother, and I was supposed to be murdered, you know, and I didn't realize that. Well, I don't think the reader knew that period until the end, because his dad, you know, was hearing voices and had basically planned to kill him and his brother.
Yeah.
So, you know, living in a motel with some ghosts, that was the least of his concerns, you know. So I really did. I thought Nick was going to probably do something to her. I thought he was going to be the bad guy, the Callum in this story. So,
but Callum was the bad guy for Carly's timeline, and his grandfather was the bad guy for Viv's timeline. And of course, all things come full circle. So, of course, Callum did not live. And no one killed him, but Betty killed him. Like, well, you are the grandson of this wretched man who is here forever. I'm gonna kill anybody that is in your family that come to this motel.
Right, your bloodline.
Yes,
just all of them.
And she wreaked havoc. I mean, to the point where you know, it looked like he had an aneurysm or something. You know, it was something unidentifiable, because at first they were trying to see if Carly or Nick killed him. Nick. They had kept Nick in the, you know, police thing, but of course they didn't keep him. But now, like, they come back and that place looks night and day. Like, it was already run down, but this place is condemned now. You can't even, water everywhere. Things coming down. They're like, how do you work black mold? I'm like, how does black mold appear overnight? Or that made me think that Betty and the other ghost, like, if you, like, I've seen a movie like this. You go as the person, you're being influenced by those ghosts. So you're seeing things the way they want you to see them. And then after she got her revenge, she let go of, all of them let go of the illusion they were creating.
Yeah.
And this is what's left.
And this is what this place really looks like.
So to think, you're coming in a place every day, dripping water, black mold, and you think you're seeing a regular room.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Betty actually did that. I mean, she did the damage, but I feel like that was natural damage.
In that time.
No, right.
Not in that quick of a time span.
Right.
You know,
like the black mold was the giveaway. You can't grow that in an hour.
No. And, you know, he was saying like the drywall and all that, it was crumbling. It was like, it was years of deterioration, basically. The officer was saying, to the point where, you know, it had to be condemned. And like you were saying, those things could not have happened in that wasn't even a day's worth of time. So the time that Callum died, you know, that was within hours?
It was like a couple of hours. So like alongside this, you know, Carly went back to that hotel initially to get this document out of the vending machine that her aunt had wrote. So her aunt squeals up and she's telling Carly, get in the car, let's go. So they go and ride off and have pie or something and talk.
And soup, yeah, right.
Yeah, soup. And all this stuff is going on while they are gone. And they were not gone more than an hour or two. They weren't gone that long.
No, not at all. So, yeah, like you said, I think Betty was holding on for dear things. And then the last seed of Simon Hess came through, and Betty was like, oh, shit.
Like, I'm going to use all my energy trying to take this MFer out. Yeah.
Right. Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
I'm about to wreak havoc on the Sundown Motel.
And he was a bad seed too. I mean, he did try to kill Carly. He tried it.
Yeah. He did. He tried to push her in the he did push her in the pool, hoping she was gonna die. And then what else? He came back, right? Isn't that
he did come back?
Right, he came back. So he was trying to do something. It wasn't like, that was it. He was trying to seek revenge for his grandfather. So it didn't work.
But I'm like, that's the sins of my damn aunt. Why you trying to take me out? I ain't do it. I didn't kill the man. What you?
No. Yeah. So, but he was a little off. So he probably just thought my life is, I don't know. I'm just thinking, he's probably thinking my life could have been different if my grandfather didn't do this, and that. So, and he didn't realize that his grandfather was a serial killer. He just thought his grandfather ran off.
Yeah.
Because they didn't find the body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they found the body later. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he just thought, did he know? I think he found out that was his grandfather in that car.
Yeah, I think that is what set him off. Because I think that kind of got out all around the same time, because I remember, she was rushing back to Nick to kind of tell him what happened. Because
that's right, because that's when he confronted her, and she had to drive over to Marnie's house, or was it Alma's house, to kind of get away from him.
Right, she went to Alma's house because Alma's the ex-retired cop. So, and he followed her all the way to his house. Kellum did. Yeah,
that's right. It's just, and with this being a small town, they probably knew that this was, probably a ex-cop. But yeah, that is right. He did confront and say, oh, isn't that funny that how your aunt goes missing and my grandfather's goes missing too, or something. So yeah, just
yeah, because then Alma's like, do you need some help? She opened the door like, what's going on out here?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then come to find out that Vivian, her aunt, was the one that left the documents for her, for her to read through if you see all the proof that she had.
Right.
And then she ended up turning herself in. She was living as she had this crazy name. I wrote it down. She was living as
Fawcett.
Christine. What is it?
Fawcett.
Yeah, it's like Farrah Fawcett.
When she said that, I'm like, Farrah Fawcett. I know it because I love Farrah Fawcett.
Oh my gosh! But I'm like, she got away with it this whole time, but then she gave herself up. I'm like, well,
yeah, she probably I think she realized at the end that, like she was saying, Nick wasn't the one who did wrong. She was the one who did wrong. And, she wound up having cancer. Mm-hmm. So, I think
twice. She had cancer the second round when she was in jail.
Yeah. So I think she just kind of was like, you know what? I'm tired of being on the run. But you know what? Now, and before I forget, the one thing that was kind of key in this story, some of the key points, she was going to school. I mean, she was going to New York to be an actress, and she had taken some acting classes. So, like when she was making some of those phone calls, she was using different voices. And that's how she fooled Carly at the end, with go look for the journal in the vending machine. And she thought that was Elma who called her. And it was really her aunt using a different voice. Because she said, you know what? She never did identify herself as Alma. She just recognized the voice.
Yeah.
So, that talent of being able to use different voices. And that's how she found out the information about Simon Hess, too, calling the different insurance call the insurance company about the car because she got the license.
Well, she called the wife first. She was like, "Oh, I'm calling it." She pretends she was from the scheduling company,
right?
And then I think that's how she got some information from there, and then she kept calling. She using Alma. Hello, I'm a police officer, whatever. And then Alma later was like, "Do you know it's illegal to impersonate a police officer?" She's like, Forget about that. Listen to
That's not important.
Yeah, it's
That's not important right now.
Right.
It's not important. But I got this information.
Yeah. I caught a serial killer.
Right. But yeah, those, that acting and the voice impersonations, or, just using the different voices, was very key in some parts of this story. So I forgot to mention that. But yeah, the aunt was alive the whole time.
Yeah.
Knew her niece was there in town, and kind of was, at the end leading her, to the answers of from the story. And then she got to the point she was like, okay, we need to meet.
Yeah, she had to. But I did like the end. They kind of skipped ahead 3 months. I liked how they wrapped that up there. So we knew that the Sundown owner, Chris, closed the business. He did condemn the building. And
he had to.
Yeah, he had to. He put it up for sale. And of course, he took the insurance money. And Alma, she still checks in with Carly, but they don't really talk about much of anything because she still won't answer questions. She's
like, who? I don't know who that person is.
That is. Yeah. But if I did know somebody like that, I would think that.
I was like, yep, that's a I don't know who you could be talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, of course, that's when we find out Vivian has cancer again. And, of course, the cute little I was waiting for Carly and Nick to hook up all the way. I was like, oh, they waited to the end. But this is a situation where it didn't bother me that they got together in the end, because it was months later and they were still just dating. They weren't all like googly eyed, it was a different situation. And this is how you do it right, people. If you want to throw a relationship in on this kind of book, this is where you do it.
I was waiting for this. I enjoyed that too, because the whole time, she had a crush, and it wasn't even, the way the author wrote it, it wasn't blatant. It was just, you could kind of tell, oh, his blue eye. And then it was like back to business. They stuck to the business. But in the end, like you said, the 3 months later, and he was like, this is date number 10. And she's like, no, it's not. This is number 9. My first was, I was in pajamas. And he was like, and I was like, oh, see,
that was cute. He's like, did I take you home? Did I buy you medicine and bring it to you?
Right. I bought all the medicine. She's like, I was in sweats. That's not a date. And I was like, my heart. I was like, perfect. Just perfect. Because we could have heard that earlier in the story, and it would have been like, come on, people. There's a murder to be solved here.
Right, let's
we don't want to hear about we don't want to hear about your budding relationship.
Right.
But she let the crime be solved, and everybody's life came to, we saw how everybody's life ended, and then you bring in some happy joy.
Yeah, it wasn't like the next day and we're holding hands in the cab of the truck. Like, no.
Unrealistic.
Right. This was much better. I believe this more. And it was kind of gave me a happy ending.
Right. Because Carly even went home for a little bit and came back. Mm-hmm. So I was really impressed with, I was like, see, they stuck it out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was pleased with that.
The author delivered. And I mean, even with the slow start, I feel like there were so many positives going on with this story and how I felt at the end of the story that almost negated the slow start. I was like, it was worth it, because in the end there were and I gotta give the author credit. There was a lot going on between the past and the present. Clear all of these moving parts, all of the mystery then and now, and it's like all these moving parts that cross over into the two timelines. There was a lot going on, and she kept it straight.
Yeah, because like you were saying, you had notes. I had notes too, because as I was listening, I'm like, this has got to be, that's got to be important. And there was a lot of characters.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of moving parts, a few red herring, but I loved it. It was, I started it on Sunday because I wanted it to be fresh. And then, was it yesterday? I kind of just pushed through, and it was, and it wasn't one of those ones where I was like, I'm pushing through. No, I was truly excited to get back to it and to continue and figure out whatever the heck, where was Vivian?
Yeah.
And who was killing, because it was two mysteries, basically. Mm-hmm. Where was Vivian and who killed these women? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Where was Vivian? Was she murdered? Did she run away? And who killed these women in Fell, New York? So, she did. She did a great job keeping all that together. And it was pretty seamless.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Very good. Okay, let's rate the thing. Let's go ahead and rate it. We need to talk about the audiobook narrators real fast. Let's talk about the audiobook narrators.
Okay.
So there were two, one for Carly and one for Vivian. And they actually said who did what at the end of the audiobook. I wrote it down because I knew I wouldn't remember.
Okay, because I'm like, I can't remember.
So Brittany Presley was Carly and Kirsten Potter was Vivian.
Okay.
I think I enjoyed Vivian's voice better. Carly's voice was kind of whiny to me for a little while. It took me a little while to kind of adjust to it, but I did eventually, and it was fine. But I just remember right off, Vivian's voice was easier for me to digest initially.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Carly's the narrator for Carly, because she also narrated for Heather, and Heather, the roommate, was very whiny. Mm-hmm. And I had to and I think there were at points where the differentiation, it was like she almost forgot that's Heather, this is Carly, and then I think she got into the groove of it, because I felt that same way, that now who's whinier? And I could see Heather really being the whiny word, because, she was a little quirky.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I did enjoy Vivian's narrator. I didn't have any hang-ups really about them, like you said, except for, the start, or that blend of Heather and Carly.
Yeah.
They did great with the male voices.
Yeah.
No issues.
It was good. I mean, but overall, they did a stellar job between the two of them. Once I got past the whininess and I adjusted, it was fine.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And of course, as this is, who was Berkeley was the publisher, and Penguin Audio did the audiobook. So of course, as expected, the quality of the production was good.
Yeah, it was. It was good. I think I might have noticed one little thing, but it wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was a good production.
Wonderful. Okay, let's rate the Sundown Motel 1 to 5. No halves. You know how we do. Classy, how did you rate the Sundown Motel by Simone St. James?
I gave it 4. Same. Yes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I really did. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like I wanted to give it a 5. I didn't really even see myself giving it 5, but it was definitely a 4. No doubt.
I feel like it would have been a 5 had that initial part for me moved a little faster. That could be one thing that I would say it took a minute to start building the world before we could get into it, and it just dragged a little bit on the beginning. But like, if I had been able to jump in it, like, oh my gosh, right away, it would have been a 5.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like hook me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. True.
All right. Yay.
Yeah.
So we usually do, you guys know, we usually do an adaptation fantasy cast, but because, life,
Yes.
we didn't do one. So
Yeah.
you guys aren't going to hear it on the pod, but if you join Patreon, you can catch the after show, because we are going to do it live. We are just going to go through and try to figure it out together.
Okay.
We're going to do a little quick cast on the after show. So if you're listening now, you should be able to go to Patreon, sign up, and hear this after show right now. So that is it. We are done for the day. Classy, you all set?
That was good.
Yeah, it was. It's been a while since we just didn't have a whole bunch of complaints, I feel like.
Right. And we agreed on a book. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's been so fun talking to you guys. We hope you enjoyed the show. And thanks for checking out this book with us. And stay tuned to join Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official and find out what we're reading next, so you guys won't be spoiled by the conversation. So until next time, happy reading. Take care, guys.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's book chat episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcast and leave a positive 5-star review. You can follow me on Twitter at Shelf Addiction. Most importantly, you can share this podcast with friends and family that enjoy all things bookish, including author interviews. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading.